kick-ass witch, putting the K in magic. I'm Joanna DeVoe, and you're watching a video about the witch archetype, or reclaiming the W word. I know that the W word, witch, is kind of a scary word for some of you, and I'm actually amazed that you're still watching my channel. And I totally appreciate that. And I thought that I would take a little time out to explain why I call my website Kick-Ass Witch and why I call myself a witch. Because for the most part here, I'm just talking about psychology and personal development and emotional healing, things like that, which I happen to think are all very witchy things. But I know that because of a lot of movies and horror stories, some people, when they think of the word witch, they think of someone who is maybe old and ugly, or very seductive but manipulative and dangerous. It's a word that's sometimes just used interchangeably with the word bitch. It has come to mean evil, wicked, and back in the day during the burning times, many witches were persecuted for being in consort with the devil. But the thing about that is, the devil is a Christian creation, and the pagans that were accused of being witches back in the day did not even recognize the devil or Satan, although it was all too easy to take the horned deities of nature that they revered and worshipped and superimpose this satanic meaning onto that. And it was very convenient in terms of the Inquisition. But for the most part, witchcraft and Satanism, those are two totally different things. Most witches do not even believe in or recognize Satan or a devil. As for me, myself, not only do I not recognize a devil or a Satan, I also do not believe in personified deity, as I have said many times. I do not believe in a human-like being or beings that live up in the sky and judge or are concerned with us really in any way. I believe that man created God in his image to better wrap his head around it, to better be able to understand the cosmos and the divine. It is something that we created, and I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's actually good and served a purpose. It's something that we created to be able to understand God. We created the God and the goddess archetype and the devil archetype to not only understand deity, but to also understand ourselves. And if you are familiar with the work of Carl Jung or Joseph Campbell, or tarot cards even for that matter, you totally know what I'm talking about here. And for those of you who want to learn more about archetypes, there are two books that I recommend. One is Sacred Contracts by Carolyn Mace. And this gets really into detail about the various archetypes like the Fool, the Hermit, the Warrior, the Mother, and it helps you to identify what archetypes might be at play in your life and how you can work with those to better understand yourself. And this book by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, Women Who Run with the Wolves. It is a classic book, and it uses story to demonstrate how archetypes are at work in our lives. And obviously it's for women, the title Women Who Run with the Wolves, but it's a great read for men too. Very insightful, very healing book. Can't recommend this one enough. And then there's a third book for those of you who are interested in exploring the witch archetype further, that archetype specifically, and that is The Witch in Every Woman, which I just recently mentioned by Laurie Cabot. I just read this book recently and I loved it so much, and that's partly why I am making this video right now, because I wanted to talk about the witch archetype. And I'm a person who believes that there is a little bit of witch, or maybe a lot of witch, in every woman, and maybe even in every man for that matter. There are plenty of male witches around. And some of the more positive archetypes that you may be familiar with that are associated with the witch would be the priest or priestess, the wise woman or man, the mystic, the magician, or the healer. These are archetypes that can be associated with the witch. And the witch, he or she, is typically someone who works with the cycles of life. The life, death, life cycles of nature and of being a human, the changing seasons, the phases of the moon. They usually have a reverence for nature and a penchant for healing. They are often into magical arts like Reiki, remote viewing, divination, or a conscious manifestation, whether by the law of attraction or by using the 7 hermetic principles, or maybe some combination of both. They do not sacrifice animals. In fact, they deeply love and care for animals as well as plants and the entire planet. They are, for the most part, good people who care about the environment and being of service to their fellow human beings. Many of these people do not call themselves witches. They may just call themselves hippies or shamans or New Age light workers or even just environmentalists. I know that many of you watching my channel do not call yourself witch and have actually questioned me about why I do, and so here's my official answer. I call myself witch first and foremost because I like it, because it makes me smile. And secondly, I call myself witch out of a sense of solidarity with the healers, herbalists, midwives, and widows who were tortured and cruelly executed because they were accused of being witches, even though many of them did not call themselves that. They may have, in some cases, been practicing the old religion, as it was called, or folk magic, but for the most part, the word witch was a derogatory term that was given to them. And it makes me sad to think about the institutionalized church and governments who basically exterminated these people who were just living off the land and working with nature and basically just minding their own business. I feel a certain kinship with them, and just like there are trends right now for rewilding and foraging and getting off the grid and getting off fake foods and permaculture, there's also a movement of perfectly normal people who are calling themselves witch and going on YouTube to tell their stories about that and put an everyday relatable face on something that back in the day they might have been put to death for. And I happen to think that that is a beautiful thing, this reclaiming of the word witch and taking it away from the stereotype of the warty, green-faced, wicked witch, and making it more of an empowering term that stands for someone who loves nature and embraces magic and stands for something good. I'd also like to point out before I go that calling yourself a witch or practicing the craft of the wise is not a religion. There are atheist witches, Buddhist witches, Wiccan witches, New Agey, Yogini, pantheist witches such as myself, and even Christian witches. Witchcraft isn't a religion. It is a way of life, a way of being in the world, and there are no hard and fast rules. Every witch is an individual, and if you want to know what one is all about, you're going to have to take the time to get to know them. So thank you for taking the time to get to know me and be a part of this channel, even if it was only in watching this one video. Thank you, namaste, much love, and as always, peace.